Hi guys, welcome to histologic the histology of the lymph node. Right, so a lymph node is an oval structure located along the lymphatic system. And since it is an organ, it is surrounded by a capsule which is dense, irregular connective tissue. A lymph node is classified into three. Mainly, it has a cortex, right? And this cortex is further divided into two: a superficial cortex and the deep cortex. The superficial cortex is the outer cortex. The deep cortex is going to be given another name called the paracortex, right? So within these cortex, you're going to have a lymph nodules that are going to have germinal centers that produce B lymphocytes and so forth. Right. We also have the medulla. That's the inner portion. And the medulla is going to have medullary cores as well as medullary sinuses. Take note of this. How does the lymph move in the lymphatic node? So you're going to have what we call afferent lymphatic vessels. So there are several afferent lymphatic vessels of the valves that will be entering the convex surface of the lymph, right? Entering the convex surface of the lymph and then of the lymph node, right? And then these ones, they 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 leave the lymph will leave the the lymph node via the hilum, right, through the efferent lymphatic vessel. So you have one efferent lymphatic vessel. Mainly, you have one. Usually, you have one lymphatic efferent lymphatic vessel, but you have several afferent lymphatic vessels, right? So histologically, you can actually see here that this is your connective tissue uh, that will form the what? The capsule. So the capsule is made by dense irregular connective tissue. And the capsule, behind the capsule, you're going to have a space or a sinus that is called the subcapsular sinus, right? This subcapsular sinus will proceed as the trabecular sinus, is it? Right. So we have trabecular sinus, we have the uh, paracortical sinus, medullary sinuses, and then we end up having what? These medullary sinuses that will join to form the efferent lymphatic vessel. What are the basic function of the lymph node? So the lymph node, it has two function, one being filtration. So it's a filtrating organ. So it is abundant macrophages that will be destroying microorganisms and debris. Two, it acts as immune system activation. So detection of antigens, right? And there's detection and monitoring of antigens, right? And mount an attack against them. So basically, that's the function. Cells of the lymph node. So they are basically we have basically the B and the T lymphocytes, and then we have the plasma cells, which are mature B cells will be found in the germinal centers of the lymph nodules, and then we have macrophages, follicular dendritic cells, and these are all supported by reticular cells that will form delicate reticular fibers. So the stroma of the lymph node is made by reticular fibers from reticular cells, not the same as those stellate epithelial cells that are found in the thymus. You understand that? Good. Right. So what is found in the cortex? So the cortex. The cortex is further divided into two. Remember, superficial and deep. The deep is also called the paracortex. Right. So let's start with the outer cortex. So the cortex contains follicle with the germinal centers, heavy with the dividing B cells. So the germinal center you're gonna see is gonna be surrounded by the crown mantle, right, of T cells, but at the center you're going to have proliferating and maturation of B cells. And then the paracortex, so you also have the uh, dendritic cells nearly encapsulate the follicles. Then the deep cortex houses the T cells in transit. Paracortex it's thymic dependent region, which means it only has T cells, T lymphocytes. The T lymphocytes circulate continuously among the blood, lymph node, and lymphatic system, as we know. What about the medulla? So the medulla is going to have medullary cords and medullary sinuses. Medullary cords is going to have cells. Medullary cords is going to have cells. It's going to have the following cells: B cells, T cells, macrophages, plasma cells. All those cells they form the medullary cord. So between the medullary cord, you're going to have a space called the medullary sinus. That's where you're going to find your lymph. So throughout the node are lymph sinuses crisscrossed by reticular fibers. Macrophages reside in these fibers and phagocytose foreign. Good. So let's take a look here. So this is your cortex. This is your cortex. This is your cortex. This is your medulla. This region I'm highlighting, this is your paracortex. That is at the junction between the superficial cortex and the medulla. So you can actually appreciate lymphatic nodules right here. This is a lymphatic nodule. This is a lymphatic nodule. This is a lymphatic nodule. And you can actually appreciate that at the center of this nodule, you're going to have a light stained portion. That's your germinal center for the proliferation and maturation of B lymphocytes. And then at the periphery, you're going to have T lymphocytes. So you have B cells at this region and then T cells at this region. Then the medulla, you can see cords and spaces. These white spaces, they resemble your medullary sinuses, right? And these, that looks like cords. They are going to be a medullary cords containing your B cells, T cells, and as well as um, the plasma cells. So let's talk about the capsule a little bit. So you're going to have a capsule that will be surrounding this lymph node. This capsule is dense irregular connective, and the afferent lymphatic vessels, right, enter the convex portion of the lymph node, right, and take note, like we said, that they have valves to prevent the backflow of lymph. Good. So this is a capsule. You can actually see dense irregular connective tissue. It is sense. It's trabeculae right inside the lymph node to divide these nodules, right? And then this is a trabeculae, and then you're also going to have subcapsular sinuses. These are spaces in the trabeculae. You're going to have subtrabecular sinuses. And these sinuses in the medulla, they will form medullary sinuses. At the medulla, they will join and form the efferent lymphatic system. Right. So you can actually see blood vessels, some lymphocytes, yeah. So this is the aggregation of lymphocytes. You can actually see here. These are all your lymphocytes. So the lymph node sinuses. So sinuses we have so they are gonna have a network of stellate reticular cells, macrophages, and a thing like simple squamous epithelium, migratory lymphoid cells. What is important is to understand the course of how lymph is gonna move through these sinuses. So it's gonna start as an efferent lymphatic system. So it's going to start as an efferent from the afferent lymphatic vessel, right? And then it enters the subcapsular sinus. From the subcapsular sinus, it enters the trabecular sinus. From the trabecular sinus, it enters the medullary sinus. From the medullary sinus, it's going to leave via the efferent vessel. Efferent vessel. So this becomes your superficial cortex. This region is your paracortex. This region is your right. Another interesting. So this is a germinal center right here, germinal center another here, germinal center. This is a lymphatic nodule. So here you're going to have T lymphocytes surrounding the germinal center, and then here is going to be your B lymphocytes within the germinal center. You understand, right? This region is your paracortex. What is going to be found in the paracortex? We only have T lymphocytes. And take note of this. In the paracortex, you have what we call high endothelial venules. These high endothelial venules, they are unique in terms that these are blood vessels um, endo, which have an endothelium that is not simple squamous, but rather it is a cuboidal endothelium. So they have cuboidal endothelium rather than simple squamous epithelium. You understand? Right. So that's everything about the lymph node. Um, everything about the lymph node that you have to check out and appreciate. Thank you so much for today. See you next time.